Welcome everyone to the world session for today is December 12th. I do it all the time. I say December 12th. I have dysnumeria. I always flip numbers, but it is actually December 9th, Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. We're approaching 2026. We're approaching the solstice. We've passed the full moon. We're in the waning moon. So this week is all about letting go. So in doing that, we're going to look at aim, where we aim. So that'll be one thing. And the second thing will be good and evil. And the third thing will be to discard the active memory or even the belief systems that are held within the nervous system, and the brain doesn't look for aiming high at a solution, but it'll keep going low and, let's say, do analysis. Analysis has its place, as we know. That we don't dismiss anything here. We do holistic work, which is wonderful. But sometimes we need to kind of focus on one thing, like the fovea in the eye will focus on one area. It'll focus on one thing. And why would it do that? Why would we evolutionarily do that? Well, if we had the vista that was completely full, then we would need a brain to compensate. So the evolution takes us to, let's focus on this one thing, and we allow the rest to fade into the background, the periphery. But of course, sometimes in life we go, hey, maybe I'm focusing on the wrong thing. Like, oh my goodness, if I go back to my teen years, what would I focus on? You'd get a little pimple, and you look in the mirror, and all you see is a pimple that is bigger than the rest of you. That's all you see. And you think you're walking around the world, and that pimple steps in the room before you, right? So whatever's going on in our brains at that period of time, right? Obsessed with how we look, very, very much into cavil, just picking at the little things. And then we grow up, and you get older and older, and then it's like, you forget what you look like, and then you're my age, and you go into the mirror. Yeah, there's a little blurring mechanism going on here, and there's makeup, so you don't see all the wrinkles. But if I go into the bathroom early in the morning with no color and nothing, and I see myself, it's like, right? But you don't pick on the whole thing. You just kind of get scared, like, what are those wrinkles, and what are those? Yeah, it's wonderful that you get to go online and blur it all out. And of course, these lights here are wonderful. They hide a multitude of sins. So here we go. What we're going to do is look at, just give a little story, right? A little story about looking down. So if I'm aiming low, even my ideas of, well, I could only do this much. I can only do that much. You could say, in some circumstances, that is fine, depending on what's going on. But I could still have the goal or the aim. Let's say I have an aim for this week. I'm going to do this. I'm going to accomplish this task. Then in the next month, I'm going to accomplish that task. And then in 3 months, this is where I'm going to be. And in 6 months, we know that that is highly effective. When we have those things listed out for ourselves, we will go there. The second thing that works really well, and by the by, it's really, this work is so alchemical and so magical. And most of the time, I've just had struggles with, pain and all those health issues, but a lot is getting better. So I keep asking, I've modified the way I ask for things. I usually did just a command, but now I say things clearly. I have all my bills paid right now, let's say. And, the first time I would write something like that, I go, well, I don't quite believe that. And I go, you know what? Doesn't matter. Aim high, aim up. It's not even aiming high. It's aiming up, upward. Aiming towards the light, aiming towards the sun. When you think of tarot and the sun, you want to look towards the sun. And if you think mind, masculine, manifest, matter, which is the feminine, it's usually done through the sun, like the tarot card, the sun, right? So we want to go there. Us women, so a lot of us women, and you men in your feminine side, right? We all have a masculine and feminine. It's the difference between men and women is so slight. It's such a tiny amount, but it's enough to make that difference. It's enough to say when girls, again, this is not a rule, but the exception does not, it is a rule, but the exception does not prove the rule, right? Some people go, yeah, but my daughter liked to play with trucks. My daughter took cars apart. My daughter took the radio apart. Fine, that's fine, but it doesn't make the rule. The rule, it doesn't prove the rule. The rule is most girls are going to go to dolls, and most boys are going to go to what is mechanical. We like people. Look at the job I'm in. Look at the work I do. It's all about people. It's all about my love, compassion, affection, care, everything I want to do to help people. Why the heck would I go in a field like this? When I could have been, why not be an engineer? I was totally encouraged to be an accountant, an engineer, all these things. No. I went straight for the heart energy. I went straight for the earth energy. I went straight to the nurturing energy. Highly feminine energies. And then I had to cultivate my masculine as well to make things work. So you can think about those things. So kids will do that, but also there was an experiment done with monkeys. And monkeys were through toys and let the monkeys go to the toys. And the male monkeys went to the trucks and all the mechanical objects, and girls went to the dolls and the mushy things. Okay, that doesn't mean that some of the boys didn't go for the mushy things. I mean, I don't remember seeing a boy without some kind of teddy bear or lion or whatever. Of course, but they weren't sitting around dressing dolls necessarily. It can be, like I said, but it is not necessarily the rule. And that tells us a little bit about how we operate and how we function so that we can reduce resentment. Yeah, this is a big deal. So resentment is the easiest thing to fall prey to. Resentment comes easily. You're in a classroom and some kid does better than you, or some kid does better than your kid, and your kid starts to aim down, aim low. How do they aim low? That's all I can accomplish because other people are better than me. That's when you have to kind of look back. You could do this as an adult, look back at your history and say, all right, I did bad things. I did evil things. I did bad things. I did evil things. All right. Okay. You did that. Now what you're going to do is look up and say, what can I do to improve? And you take each of those steps so that you improve, that you're going in the direction of which you're aiming. And you need to aim up. Okay. Aim up. You need to aim towards the light. If you're aiming towards the ground, you're aiming towards the least, well, it's not really aiming towards the ground. I don't like that visual. It's aiming low, like aiming for hell, right? If you want to aim for hell, good for you. But you will enter you will enter the boiling, heated, burning, torturesome, hellish waters, and it will be rough, right? It's going to be super rough if you go look down. Now, that said, I want to add something. This is something I'm feeling. We could question it. It was something I was talking to a friend about who's on here right now. And one of the things that popped up from my intuition, so don't know if this is true or false. I'm going to have to do some research on it. But it felt like people who are good, are honest, and want to aim up and can do really well aiming upward towards the light. We can do that. But it's going to be a hard road because we're not cheating along the way. We're not cutting corners along the way. We're not saying, okay, well, I could do this and pretend it's not good. In my life, I've always done things the hardest way. And sometimes I could never complete it because it was the hardest. But I still felt it was the way to go, even though it wasn't massively successful. So even one of the women I worked with, we always used to quote Carl Jung. When it comes to belief system work, he said, this is the work we need to do, according to Carl Jung, but it is not the most popular. And I was like, yeah, okay, a lot of the stuff I do is the work I think that needs to be done. That is hard. It's very hard. So it's not going to be popular. It's so much more popular to read a book, The 10 Ways to Get a Man, The 10 Ways to Heal Your Soul, The 10 Ways. And of course, what happens once you get the 10 ways to do those things? Those people create a lot of customers for me and my friends. They do. Now, I could say that's a good thing, but it's not, because they lost all that time studying something that has worked them in some way. And now they have to start the hard work. So hopefully those of you who are attracted to listening to this, you'll start the hard work right away instead of waiting till later. I was told when I was really young, I think probably in high school, they'd say, when you go home to do your homework, always do the hardest thing first and then do the easy ones. Once you're tired, then you can do the easy stuff. And I always followed that rule. I always did. I was like, unless I was on the bus or something and I finished my work, but I would always start with the hardest thing so that the last bits could get done really easily. That's your entire life. Let's say things change, our planet becomes less toxic. We start to actually clean things up rather than trying to control people's usage. We actually use the things that we dirty. That's my feeling about the world. I'm not going to go too deep in it. It's not my field of study, but I feel like we're going in the wrong direction with the ways in which governments are trying to save the planet. I really feel like it's wrong. That's my feeling, my intuition. And I feel like we really need to change things too. Grassroots, we got to get together and clean up. Just make sure we're clean. Like we clean our neighborhoods. We make sure we're doing clean things to the best of our ability, not waiting for politicians to fly around the world and tell us what to do while they do whatever they want. So that always feels a little bit strange, right? It feels quite strange that those things are going on. So, and I think we have the wherewithal to take care of things on this planet. We've done it in the past. We can do it again and do it more, like supporting universities that, McGill had created this kind of vortex that would collect garbage in the ocean. How come we're not seeing that everywhere? I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't see all these beautiful, beautiful things that people create that we're working, but we don't see it everywhere. So there's lots of good stuff out there. I think our focus, that goes back to the phobia. As I was mentioning, our phobia focuses on something, and we tend to focus on the wrong thing. How do we focus on the right thing? Up, aim at the sun. Stop aiming low, right? What's the lowest thing we could aim at when it comes to, let's say, government and how to solve a situation? The lowest way to do it, I'm sure you can all guess, is throw money at it, right? You got homeless people, let's throw money at the homeless people. What happens? Those of the homeless people that actually take drugs, let's say you stop by and give one of them $1,000, what do you expect will happen? Most likely you'll find them dead on the road because the first thing they're going to do is surge and take a lot of drugs, right? Throwing money at things has never seemed to work, right? It just has not. What we need to do is give people the capacity to take care of what they have, what is around them. Education, better education than we have right now. So I'm sure I've covered some of the topics that people are interested in. I'm sure there's 100,000 more topics. Whatever topic you're looking at, whether I mentioned it or not, look up and see what you can do for yourself and the people around you. And we hope, right, and pray to God always that if I am doing that, I can spread that consciousness in the collective to my neighbor, and then the whole neighborhood operates that way, and then the next neighborhood operates that way, and then finally the world. Because if we let other people tell us what to do and take care of us, it will not get done. It will not. We must be the change we want to see. Oh, I forgot that quote. All right, so that's what we're doing right now. So I'm at a standing desk today. I thought it was really important to get the body moving, right? Every time I'm sitting down and at the computer, my back hurts, my neck hurts. And when I'm standing up here, it's great. You don't hurt as much. And I get to move. And remember, bioenergetics in this healing energy. So whatever is, you know, taking your fancy in what I've said, or if it's triggered other thoughts, fantastic. Just use it. Okay. I can't label every single person's need in the world. I can only work through things I hear from people and things I see. So we're working through that and kind of going through the entire system and saying, where in the body, mind, in karma, in all of eighth chakra, have I, so you can say this for yourself. You don't want to say it, that's fine too. You can remain in your resentment. Have I been bad? Have I been evil? And when I see that, like the time I was jealous of someone, I'm dieting like crazy. This happened a lot to me, dieting, and it was always so hard to lose weight, and I wouldn't lose weight, and jealous of the girl who lost the 50 pounds really quickly. All those times that you're feeling like somebody else has it better than you, all those times you feel like somebody got more than you, right? Siblings do that often, and that's the biblical stories, Cain and Abel, Jacob and his brother, same kind of thing, or his sister, I think. So Jacob sided with his mother, and his brother Esau, I think, sided with the father, and they tried to take the girl down, I think, or the brother down. They tried to take all the inheritance, and in those days, the inheritance went to the eldest child, and you didn't divide it up. Like a lot of people I know on here today, Italians, Greeks, people have land back home, right? It's left to all the children in the last century, and then it gets divided. So I think the piece of land I own, I probably own about this much of it, right? And we're all going to have to fight to get a bigger piece, and everybody's going to, overcharge people and whatever for the piece. So it's hilarious, right? I already went through it with another piece of land that was separated amongst, I think, 6 different siblings. So in those days, they were smart. Let's give it to one child. That child creates, and hopefully that child is going to help the others as well. But it all depends on what I'm talking about. Resentment, jealousy, superiority, needing to control, all these different bits and pieces. So we're going to work through some of that. I'm mostly focusing really on biblical stories. I'm trying to see if I want to trace to any, maybe even Cinderella, because the biblical stories I'm thinking about are male, and Cinderella is the female one, where females, who are even worse than men, right? They're even more toxic than men in so many ways. Females will, like Cinderella's 2 stepsisters and stepmother. There are also in Snow White, we have the story present day that is a stepmother, or the queen, that is trying to kill Snow White. But in the original story, it was her mother. So her mother wanted her. Her mother wanted this beautiful child with a snow white skin and red lips, and that because her blood, she was sewing, and her blood fell on the snow, and she wished that she would have a daughter with snow white skin and red lips, and she has that daughter. And then the moment that daughter starts growing up, she becomes jealous, and that jealousy takes over, and she wants her daughter dead so she could be the most beautiful in the land. That is very much representational of Munchausen by proxy. And I'm not going to mention it out loud because I'm sure some people will smack me for it, but a lot of you can think of situations going on today, and legislation is allowing mothers to do terrible things to their kids. And by the way, we talk about men abusing women, but who are the number one abusers of children in the world? And that is women. Women are the #1 abusers of children. So nobody is innocent, so it's this really a look at your own victimhood and thinking you're less than. That's the only way you're going to detect your own evil. And if you're not ready to admit it, you've got to aim up. You want to aim up. Okay. So now think about aiming up. Let's go in the other direction, right? You're going to look towards the sun. What is it you would like to accomplish? Who cares if someone does it better? That's taking you down. You don't want to focus on that. You want to focus on the thing or the project or the excitement that you have to do it. And then you work your butt off, which segues into what I was saying about good people. Good people have it harder because we don't cheat. We just don't cheat. We don't take advantage. We don't steal. We are actually sabotage ourselves in many ways. Okay, sorry, I just said something that I can't believe came out of me. And it's got a big, so sabotage myself. I'm just feeling that energy of all the things I've done to sabotage myself, but under the idea that I was trying to help other people, and it ended up sabotaging me. In one way, it's like, okay, that's great, it's released. The other one is I need to segue that into sacrifice. I don't know if you know that sacrifice is probably one of the most important cards in the tarot, because we need to sacrifice the need to sacrifice, the need, and we must realize we must sacrifice, right? You can never have it all. Having it all is a ridiculous, ridiculous notion. I can't be the most benevolent person on the planet and be good and do everything. Yep, Birdie, that's exciting you, eh? You let Bird talk a bit. Yes, yes, sir. All right, yeah. All right. Just waiting for it. I think he likes it. All right, so we need to sacrifice, right? We might make the biggest sacrifice. You can't hear it? No? What happened? What is going on? Everybody else can hear, Monica. Okay. We need to sacrifice to okay, let's say you have kids. The biggest sacrifice you would make is you would die for your child to live, right? A father will go out to battle to save his woman and to his wife and to save his children, right? It's not the greatest thing. You don't want him to die either. It's not great, but we're going to make that sacrifice. If it's me, I was even very, very little, and I'd be in the ocean and Jaws had come, and my sister was super, afraid of sharks. There were no sharks in the Mediterranean, but she was afraid of sharks. So when we were in the water, she would always say, "What happens if a shark comes?" I said, "Well, I'll be in front of you and you can swim to shore and the shark will get me and not you." And it became a little thing she would always say. Okay, she was very little. She's 7 years younger, so she's very, very little. And she would just say, "What if the sharks come? Will you really put yourself in front of me so I could get to safety?" I'm like, "Of course I will." And, it was the first sacrifice that I knew for sure I would make. No matter what, I would put myself in front of that danger to protect this little kid. She has a whole life ahead of her, right? Not that I didn't. I was like 12, right? So I thought about mothers in that instance. I thought about fathers. You would do anything. This wasn't even my child. This was my sister. And I would do anything to save her. So I think about all of the parents in the world, all of the people in the world who would make that sacrifice for their kids. It's really important to continue our survival. It's really important to have the young people surviving, right? Somebody was saying that COVID was the first time we put old people before young people. We sacrificed young people for old people. It's the first time in history we have done that, which is really strange, right? That is a really strange turnaround. We need the young people to survive. They need to continue. They need to make the world. So interesting stuff. So think about your sacrifice. So when you're looking up, you're aiming up, you're aiming towards the sun, you're going to have to make sacrifices because your phobia, your view is looking at the sun. You're going to miss some things in the periphery. You're going to miss some of the things. That's okay. That's the sacrifice you're making. You're making that sacrifice. I'm not talking about overdoing it where you never talk to anybody and you have no richness in your life. You still need to have riches because you're going to turn. And here's another piece that I can be looking at. So I could be looking at my aim and each aim as I go there. And then my aim would also be to have the fullness of my life, unless we're in big trouble. All right. So good versus evil, left versus right, resentment, liver, okay, to the insula and the septal region. These are the emotional areas that can catalyze the brain. So a lot of young people are suffering with this right now, where anxiety comes up because they don't have direction, and we've lost some of the very valuable stories, the old stories that are valuable, the biblical stories that are valuable, that help us understand ourselves in our life, what our roles are, right? I don't need to take the role of a woman, all those things that we say, but I need to understand those roles. Yeah. I need to understand which ones I'm taking, because the moment I take one, I'm going to sacrifice another one. So, right, a lot of people go, let's be the girl boss. Great, but you're going to sacrifice something else in your life that you will never get back. I sacrificed, having my own children because I decided I was going to help as many people as I could on the planet. That's what I wanted to do. So I sacrificed that whole, having a baby, bringing it up, having that baby next to me when it was one of the most wonderful things that I thought the human could experience. And yet I had to forego that in light of what I was doing. Okay, so you admit you make the sacrifice, that's fine. You can have more if you have more people working with you, but if you don't, okay, this is the way it's going to be, right? No resentment, no, okay, I made that sacrifice. All right, this is what I did. Now what can I do? What can I do to aim high? Always aiming higher. I hope that brings some clarity. So just feel into your spine. We're going to get that kundalini burning out those things. So if you want to wiggle a little bit, that's great. That's going to help the movement of your CSF, your cerebrospinal fluids, your hips, your joints, the fluids, your kundalini. We want that microcosmic orbit to be moving. Get that moving. So I'm just going to move it around. And I'm feeling where there's some aches and pains, little old ladies got some aches and pains. And I'm just tenderly talking to them. I'm telling those aches and pains, we're going to move you. I'm aiming high. I'm aiming to open you up, to open the spine up, to go in the direction I want to go in. I am perfect health, always. I am perfect health now. I am successful now. Say whatever you want to say or just repeat those. I am successful now. My bills are paid now. Whatever I need comes to me now. You should be writing 10 things a day, even if they're repetitive, or write them by hand so that your body is going in that direction, right? And all positive words. Do not use the word not, right? Always be using positive phrases. No, nots, all that stuff. I will not. The brain doesn't register no and not, okay? It doesn't care about that. Aim up, positive. What is it that you want? And state that you have it now. Why do we state that we have it now? In my mind, we're going to put my idea here. There's linear time. Of course, the money might arrive tomorrow that I need for my bill. Fine, that's fine. But in the vertical, no time, no space, in this simulation we live in, this simulation, if you like it that way. I like all the analogies that God created man. You want to call it a simulation to modernize it, that is absolutely fine, but you still have to understand that simulation, or God is going to be the one who states how this program works. And if you think you're the one to state how the program works, you'll fafo, as they say. You'll find out. You'll find out what's going on if you think you know how the simulation works. If you think you know better than God, you'll find out. Yeah. So we need to really work with these parameters, with this understanding that there is a basic ethics. Where's it located? It's located in your heart. It's been programmed into your heart. It's been programmed into section 7 of your thalamus. We know. How do we know? Commit a bad action, see what happens. Right? So it's that FAFO thing. You do something that is against the 10 commandments, you will suffer. I have never seen anyone not suffer from the consequences of their bad, evil actions. Now, there are 2 ways to go. You could double down and continue because maybe you didn't get caught. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you pretend that your evil action was actually a good one. That a lot of people do. Yeah. Or there's no courage because you've been threatened. That occurs as well. So let's pray for everyone who's been threatened. Yeah, I'm really worried about those people. I worry a lot about those people because there are a lot of Canadians out there who are, under that problem. I hope I'm not saying too much. Okay. All right, everyone. I love you all. Hope you're feeling this. I'm still feeling something on the right-hand side of the spine between thoracic 12 and lumbar 5. So I just want to go in there and see what's going on. It just feels like the suffering of mankind is part of this group. Yeah. And probably anyone who's listening, you would probably be attracted here because you feel the suffering of mankind. So we're going to draw that out. It shouldn't hamper us. We should be just aware of it and allow ourselves to aim high. So as I said, helps you, your family, your neighbor, your neighborhood, and then extends out to all the neighborhoods till we go through the world. Yeah. There we go. It's already, I feel it releasing. I love you all. Thank you so much for doing this with me. As always, it's really wonderful. And for all of you out there in the cyber world, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out. I can do more of this work and help more people out. Thanks. Bye.